Chris, thank you for spending a few minutes with me. It's a pleasure to chat with you again. We talked a little bit with the documentary The Death Tour. How are you doing?
Good man.
So, congratulations on Dark Match. We get to see you again in a kind of a heel role. Tell us a little bit about the Prophet.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty broad question, man. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's a really cool film that we spent a lot of time to get it right. And I think it worked out great. I was really excited about playing the character of the leader and the prophet. And yeah, I mean, there's a whole world of interesting parts and moments and scenes in it. So I'm very excited about it.
You're right. So let's break it down. One of the things that with speaking with Lowell, he says that this film came from him rediscovering wrestling and going to an indie show and feeling like, wow, this almost feels like a cult. And then kind of taking that and being inspired to write Dark Match. Tell me what is it about indie shows that makes them so special? Because I find them that they're so amazing that yes, we have arena shows that have all the lights, all the glitz and the glamour, but there's also something so special about this hot room, whether it's a bar, whether it's the back of a building, a brewery where a mat is set up and people give up their all and everyone releases all that energy.
You got to start somewhere, right? And I think a lot of people think that when you're in wrestling, that you're instantly, the main event of WrestleMania, a year later, don't really know about kind of the underworld of how wrestling starts. The thing I loved about this movie is that like I've been there. The first couple years of my career were, working for Rusty Beans and traveling together in this van where you pass a sign that says no services for 200 kilometers, and that's legit. So um, and when the one kind of hesitation I had at first was I wasn't really interested in doing a wrestling movie per se because they're usually not very good. Lowell did a great job in capturing what, an indie wrestling company is. And I thought that was really well done. So as a wrestling fan, which of course I am, it doesn't insult my intelligence. Um, so then I'm able to really lock into this movie and really let it unfold the way that it unfolds. And I'm not preoccupied by cheesy wrestling interpretation because it's not easy to get right because it's a very different business. It's neither fish nor fowl. It's hard to really understand and really lock into. And Lowell did a great job of doing that. And that's kind of another reason why I was really attracted to being a part of it.
So with that, Lowell said that when you guys got together, you had some notes on some of the things maybe that needed to be changed or adjusted. What were some of the things that maybe you helped out in making sure that the movie got right?
Just some of the terms, the way that the matches were done, just kind of little detail work, stuff that that if you're not in the business, you probably wouldn't realize.
Mhm.
Um, so that was just kind of overseeing things and helping with some of the like, they you probably would never say this word or approach it that way, or where you're in the ring, together talking about the match, certain things that were said and done. But like I mentioned, it wasn't a lot because he really had done a good job of of putting it together to where it was very respectful and knowledgeable about wrestling. Um and the thing that I also liked about it is that it's not a wrestling movie. It's a really well written horror movie with wrestling as a backdrop. And that to me was something that was very interesting as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of character moments that unfolds throughout the film, and then some relationships between the prophet and some of the wrestlers that come into this dark match per se. How important, you mentioned it a little bit, how important was it to get all of those concepts right about indie wrestling? Because you mentioned the word respect, because we want to make sure that we're respecting, all these people who are really putting their life on the line in working these types of shows.
Yeah, well, and once again, like it's not about indie wrestling. You know what I mean? That's the backdrop for what we're doing. Um, And I just really liked the concept, like once again, of this promoter getting this ridiculous offer to go to a rural area for a show. Like you see him saying, "I'm rich, I did it, I made it, I've got it." But then there's a whole, dark side to it where it's not what you think it is. And I think the reading through the script and seeing how Lowell did all the twists and turns of it. Like you watch the movie and it starts this way, but then takes a real left and a real right, and it kind of just goes a lot of different directions. And when it's done, you're kind of like, that was amazing. Like there's a lot of people that I've seen the movie with that aren't wrestling fans and aren't really even horror fans. They just went to the film to check it out and really were impressed and pleasantly surprised about what they got. So there's that whole element of it as well. So it's just really well done and really well written, which is why I like it. If you like wrestling movies, it's great. If you like horror movies, it's great. If you like a well-written movie, it's great. It's got so many different boxes that it checks. And that's the reason, like I said, I was really excited to be a part of it and really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, what was your experience on set? Because Loa was telling me that there's some spots where there was a lot of fire. There was some places where you guys were in a studio and then you guys had to move to a mansion and things like that. What was your experience on set?
Well, I mean, we filmed it in December in Edmonton, Canada, so it was really cold. Um, but that's okay. I think that added to the vibe of it. It's dark. Winter is dark. Uh, the effects, the set design. You mentioned Lowell mentioned the fire when there's a scene where the venue catches on fire. Like they did such a great job, and it's all practical. There's no CGI on it, and you can tell. I think there was a lot of very talented people on this film that made it super pro. And once again, when you do a movie, there's so many different elements that make it a good movie or a bad movie. And you could have a budget of $200 million and have a bad movie, and you could have a budget of $2 million and make a great movie that looks like it's $200 million. This film has that vibe to it, just the way it was the shot, the lighting, the effects, the kills, really, really professionally done. And I think that's another thing where there's so many horror movies that are made now. A lot of them cut a lot of corners. I don't know what the budget was for this film, but I know it wasn't a Marvel movie, but in a lot of ways it sure looks like one. And just watching it again last night in New York City at the screening and hearing the reactions from the audience and what they loved, what they popped on, what they were like, oh, when somebody gets killed, it really, really works. And I like going to the theater in different cities. I could watch the movie 50 times, but every time you watch it with a different audience, you get different feedback and different reactions. And that's part of the fun. We've been waiting 2 years for this. We filmed this 2 years ago, and now we're getting to enjoy the fruits of the labor of hearing the live crowd reactions. That's priceless to me.
You hit the nail on the head, right, as far as why I love horror. And usually it's because of the practicality of it. And a lot of times indie filmmakers, not necessarily having a big budget, like you mentioned, have to work with what they have and usually do such a great job on a smaller budget. We've seen you in the Terrifier franchise. We see you in Dark Match. How much are you enjoying working on horror films?
Well, once again, I enjoy just working on films. I did four last year, and two of them were Hallmark movies. So it's the yin and yang of working, being a working actor. And like I said, if my goal was to be in horror films, I could be in 50 of them. That's
Uh-huh.
not my goal. My goal is to be in good quality projects with very talented people. And Terrifier falls into that realm times a billion, as does Dark Match, as did the Hallmark movies that I did. So that's what I really like is working with talented people to get better as an actor, to learn more about the entire process. And whenever I'm on a film, I really am interested in everything from the effects to the lighting to the set design, everything. The wardrobe in this film. If you see, all of my tattoos are covered. The I thought the Prophet should not have any type of Jericho markings. Once again, going back to what I said, I don't want people to see Chris Jericho on the screen. I want them to see the Prophet. So even that, how do you cover a sleeve? How? Why you take an airbrush and you spend 45 minutes, by the way, in -20 in a makeup trailer with cold spray freezing. But once again, you see the movie, you cannot see a tattoo. And that to me, like I was watching it last guy, what looks different about me? Did I lose weight? Did I gain weight? Was my hair shorter? Was my hair oh no, no tattoos. That's what it is. You forget. So all of that stuff is interesting to me to be a part of that whole process and see how everybody does their job to create this amazing piece of work. Because it's not just the actor. It's not, you could have the greatest script in the world. If the crew is terrible, it doesn't matter. Or the actors are terrible, or the catering was bad, or whatever it may be. Everything has to be right to make something quality. And to be a part of that is very much an honor.
It definitely takes a village to put on a film, especially in an
Yeah,
indie film,
exactly.
because of the fact that a
Yeah,
lot of times indie films are wearing multiple hats as far as jobs are
yeah.
concerned. What have you enjoyed personally about acting for yourself as far as character work? Because you're saying you get to play in a Hallmark movie, you get to play in a horror movie. And the one thing that I've always been jealous of actors in general is the fact that you get to explore so many different shoes, so many different walks of lives.
Yeah.
What are you enjoying?
I mean, you just nailed it, man. Like, when you start acting, when I was 19, when I first got into wrestling, actually before that, high school plays and all that sort of thing. But wrestling is playing a character, and that's what really connects you with the audience and why people are interested is because of the characters that you play. I love acting on a set because it's so much smaller. When you're acting in front of a live crowd, it's a little bit bigger. Even though the camera's here, you have a little bit more of a projection. I love the subtleties of being in front of a camera on a set. I love the fact that you can try different things because you have so many takes. Wrestling is one take, or it's live, or maybe two takes. It's two. You have to move too fast to really lock into what you want to do for each moment. And also, I love the different elements. I love playing different characters. I haven't done dozens of movies, but I've done a dozen, and each one of them is different from the other. And that to me is the real cool part of wrestling. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't want people to see Chris Jericho, the wrestler, in any film or television show that I do. And when you can make people see the character that you're playing and not the character you're known for, that's the real secret of being a successful actor. So that's the challenge. And being on a new set every time with a new director and a new group of actors, like how good is this guy? Is this guy just getting the part as a favor, or is it a stunt casting? And like you have to prove yourself every time. My first scene in Dark Matches was Stephen Ogg, a big fan of his from Walking Dead. He's a great actor. And here I am coming on the set right away. My first scene on the whole film is with him. If I don't nail it, they're gonna go, well, he's okay, but he probably got the part because he's famous, quote unquote. You got to jump in with both feet, man, and you got to be a great actor right away. I love that challenge, and I want to continue to do that.
What has been one of the most challenging aspects for you in becoming, a better actor every day? It seems like you're quite the sponge as far as absorbing everything around you.
Yeah.
What have you found the most challenging, when you step on set?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's I don't think it's the most challenging. I think it's the most humbling in a good way. It's like I don't help me. Tell me what you want. Just because I'm Chris Jericho in this world or whatever you think of me or don't think of me, I never come into it with an ego, with any sense of entitlement, with any sense of being a know-it-all, like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Like, tell me, what do you want me to do? What can I do to be better? How can we make this scene better? What can we do here? What can we do there? And that I think is a great trait to have if you come up in the wrestling business, especially in WWE. There's a lot of humbleness. We never were taught to act like assholes in that company. And if you did act like an asshole, you were told very specifically, hey, calm down. So I think that's why a lot of wrestlers do really well in acting is none of us come on set with any sort of airs. We know kind of what we're doing, but if you have suggestions, please let's work together to create the best possible product. I leave my ego at the door. Tell me what you need. If I can't deliver it, tell me again. And then let's make the best possible, project that we can. So I think there's a lot of that coming onto any new set because it's a whole new group of people, especially if they've been filming for a couple weeks and you come in late. that's already a gang. They've got it down. You don't come in there like, with your fucking, Evian spray and your cigarette in a holder. Here's what we're doing. It's like, what have you guys created so far and how can I fit in to add to what you've done? It's a team sport at all times.
Honestly, to hear that from you makes me very, very happy, and it makes me really excited to see you in not only Dark Match, but also in other films going forward. So I really hope that we get to see you in a lot more projects. Chris, thank you so much for your time.